Good evening, everyone, and thanks for tuning in tonight. Thank you to all of our candidates for being here tonight. And thank you to Hermosa1.com for making tonight possible. I am Stephanie Cartozzi, publisher for Peninsula Magazine, who is also a sponsor for tonight's debates, along with Kevin Cody of Easy Reader News and New Voodoo, a full-service digital agency. Tonight, we will be hearing from 4 candidates competing for 2 seats on the board of the Palos Verdes Peninsula Unified School District. One of them is an incumbent. For those of you who don't know, the Palos Verdes Peninsula Unified School District serves 4 peninsula cities and the unincorporated areas of the peninsula. Student enrollment is approximately 11,000 students. The school's district's reputation for having a high-quality education attracts many families to the suburban area and to its schools. We have 2 early childhood centers, 10 elementary schools, 3 intermediate schools, 2 high schools, and 1 continuation school. During this pandemic and distance learning in place, strong leadership is essential to move forward safely while preserving our excellent standards of education. This is a highly anticipated debate due to the current state of education under the ongoing pandemic. Each of our wonderful candidates will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. And following that, each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each question and another minute at the end for closing statements. I'll go through the questions alphabetically with your names. And I just want to thank you again so much for being here tonight. The first question is, many of you are working professionals in careers as educators, independent business consultants, or on other related paths. What do you see as the board's responsibilities, and how will you make time for this position if you are elected? Joseph, would you like to answer the first question?
Excellent question. Time is a concern for everybody with the amount of work that's going to need to be done moving forward, moving our kids forward post-pandemic or pre-pandemic or during pandemic. We are going to need to work smarter. We're going to need to do our research before we come together. And I think if we are more efficient, that we can get a lot more done collaboratively. I think there's a lot of people that have maybe their own agenda and are not working towards a common goal of moving the school district forward. So dedicating time is easy because I don't sleep too much and I don't really have any hobbies right now. I can't travel. I can't go play music. So you got me right now. I'm all in and I will work every day for our kids and move this district forward.
Thank you very much, Joseph. Thank you very much. Jeff, could you answer the question? Would you like me to repeat it?
Well, are we skipping the opening statements?
Well, we can actually start with that as well. Would you like to start now with that?
Sure, and I'll then answer the question.
Okay.
I'll answer the question, and maybe after all of us answer the question, we can go to the opening statement.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So the question was time for the board, correct? I've been very fortunate in that in my business career, I've been able to retire early, and for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been on different of the school's committees. I already have a very good background of our budget. I've very good background of how our parcel tax is utilized. Already, I spend a lot of time prepping for meetings. Another board member of ours that is doesn't work full-time, Matt Brock. He's attended different off-site meetings with me on different ideas that I tried to bring to the district. So for me, I'm going to be looking at the board as my full-time job, and I've already am pretty much committed.
Very nice. Thank you for answering that. Aura, would you like to?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, I have a full-time job. I'm teaching for West High School in the morning, and I have 2 part-time jobs. I'm teaching for El Camino College and LA Harbor College. But I've done like 3 jobs all the time. I used to teach university. I used to be a full-time journalist working for a French radio station. So having one more assignment on my plate, I think it's a walk in the park. I always say that if you want something to be done, give it to a busy person. So I'm fully in, whatever it takes. As Joe said, we really need to collaborate. We really need to come to a common denominator. The board has 5 people, so we all have to agree and move this, department and move this district even further down the line. So it's going to be the top in the nation.
And Linda, would you like to answer the question?
Sure, thank you very much. I would say I've been on the board for 6 years and I've made time for it. I work part-time at home and my schedule is very flexible. I'm a college admissions advisor, so I can meet with students.
Okay.
I do a lot of work online, so I'm pretty flexible. Our board, during my time, I've served with 8 different board members. Everyone has different schedules, and we do work behind the scenes to make sure that if people have, certain commitments, they can make things work at different times. One of the difficulties of board work is that you can't talk to board members outside of meetings, or at least more than one member on a certain topic. And so it makes for a little bit less efficient process than we would all like, but that's just the nature of conducting the business of the district in public.
Very nice. Thank you for that. And yes, Jeff, let's do our opening statement. Sorry, I jumped ahead. Joseph, would you like to start with the opening statements?
Sure. I didn't want to say anything, but okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me here tonight, Easy Reader, and everybody else who's been involved in getting this going tonight. My name is Joe DeLiva. I am a resident of Rancho Palos Verdes, parent of 2 students at Palos Verdes High School, 2 sophomores, and I'm a lifelong educator. You should strongly consider voting for me due to the fact for 3 major reasons. I have the experience of almost 30 years as a public educator. I've been an administrator at the district level. I've been an administrator at the school site level. I've been a special education teacher, a history teacher. I've taught kindergarten. I've taught in a small town in Central Valley in California. I've taught in the urban center of Los Angeles. I've seen small school movements in New York, and I've been involved with the Marzano Institute and the Solution Tree Institute as well. So some of my experience, as well as WASC accreditation visits, where I learned really some of the best things going on at high schools here in Southern California. The connection to the Hill. I mentioned Rancho Palos Verdes. I am a resident of Rancho Palos Verdes. My kids went to Mila. They went to Mira Cat. They went to Mariles, and now they're at PV. I've gotten to know many families on the Hill through AYSO, through the PV Art Center, Camp Curtain Call, who can't forget those days.
Oh, yes.
And finally, innovation is the real reason. We need someone to move this district past the status quo, past the factory model of education that we've kind of been stuck in for the last 50 years. I have the passion, I have the connection, I have the experience to lead this district by example, to move us into the 21st century, to build infrastructure, to build community, to restore the fabric of what Palos Verdes is, what it means to be on the Hill, and what we want for our kids, for our future, and beyond. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you very much. Jeff, would you like to share your opening statement with us?
Sure. My name is Jeff Franco, and I'm a candidate for the Palos Verdes Peninsula Unified School District Board of Governors. I'd like to thank the Easy Reader News and the Peninsula Magazine for this forum, and my fellow candidates for participating. Mark Twain famously stated, "In the first place, God made idiots. That was for practice. Then he made school boards." So why run for school board with those kind of thoughts? I have a daughter in our top ranking school district. Through the years, we experienced challenges and many, many successes in her education. At one point, the community came together when Jillian was refused participation in extracurricular activities. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. It is the main reason why I volunteer countless hours on the district's Budget Advisory Council, Parcel Tax Oversight Committee, and the Superintendent's Special Education Parent Advisory Group. Three main goals if elected. First, make sure all students continue to receive the fantastic education that Palos Verdes has been providing. We already have a top-rated school district that has been doing amazing things. It does not mean that we can't do more and strive to be the best. Second, as a school district, we are in uncharted waters. The pandemic has caused havoc in how we deliver education to our students. Distance learning and soon to be hybrid learning presents challenges. Leadership must listen to students, teachers, and parents. The main goal is to constantly course correct until we get it right. Third, as a district, we have projected deficits in the next 2 years, and we must look for revenue to keep the opportunities that our students currently have. With your support, I hope to continue the great work that our current board has been doing and help provide our children with the opportunities they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Aura, would you like to go next?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So first of all, thank you for having me, and thank you, fellow candidates, for being here once again. I'm going to start with a quote: "Be the change you want to see in the world." I think when it's coming down to a change, I've gone through so many changes. In 1997, I immigrated legally from Romania to the United States by winning the green card lottery. Before that, I went to school. I got my bachelor in foreign languages. I got my master in American and British literature of the 20th century, and I got my PhD in world humanities. I also taught for my alma mater as an assistant professor. And again, I was a full-time journalist working for a Belgian radio station, Radio Contact, and also I was an analyst for Gallup Poll. So after I ended up in the United States, I started teaching middle school, first of all, and then I moved on to high school and college. I've been on several WAS committees, so I know exactly what's going on the other side, the administrative side. And I really believe that I have a fresh, new, creative approach when it's coming down to maintaining the high standards, when it's coming down to full transparency with clear budgetary controls. And because right now we are in a pandemic, I really believe that the mental and the physical health of our students, staff, and community at large is really, really important.
Thank you so much, Aura. That was very nice. Linda, would you like to share your thoughts on this?
Sure, yeah, thank you so much for having us tonight, for everyone volunteering to put this together. Every time, because we're candidates, we're not allowed to meet each other. I really appreciate the opportunity to do that. I've been on the school board for the last 6 years, and I've certainly learned a lot during that time. And over the last 6 months, I've learned so much more. And part of what motivates me to run for re-election to the board is because I feel like some of the health decisions that have been made at the county and state level have been based on politics, and that our children haven't been the priority for the county. And card rooms, breweries, tattoo parlors always come into the conversation, sometimes before children in schools. And the way that our kids have been marginalized is part of what motivates me to rerun. Our community needs experience right now, and they need leaders who can make decisions in a reasonable way. I don't have a political agenda. I don't have a personal agenda. I never have. I'm not a politician. I can't think of anything I'd rather do less for a career. I'm not into a political party. I'm not involved in a union or special interest group, anything like that. So I've always tried to take the nonpartisan approach and just try to do what's best for kids with every decision that I've made. I've been outspoken about high-level math classes for our high-achieving students, our STEM programs, safety measures, mental health, a world language program, things that all really benefit our students are what my passion is as a school board member. My path to the board was a little bit unusual. I never expected to be a board member. I studied biology and communications at Stanford. I have an MBA from USC, and my husband and I, our parents have 2 kids who are boys who are district students. I was a PTA leader, and I just got upset that some of the things weren't going right curriculum-wise in our district, and I started advocating and realized I could really help the district as a board member. As a college admissions advisor for the last 20 years, I definitely know that all types of kids deserve a path, and so I'm committed to helping all kids. Been a homeowner in PV since 2001. And I look forward to continuing to serve our students for the next 4 years. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Linda. That was very nice. In Los Angeles County, there are only 30 waivers for school reopening permits issued per week. Going back to school is on the minds of many parents who have hybrid learners. How would you approach and implement the attainment of a waiver, and what are the stumbling blocks? Joseph, would you like to answer that?
Okay, so the waiver process is clear. It's laid out by the state, by the county. Those are all criteria on how we do that. So as far as how we would do that, we would go through the steps that if you had to do anything in a school district or with government, it takes a lot of steps. So that will take some time. How I would do it if I was in charge and we said we got these schools back, we're going to come back in pods, small pods, and we're going to bring back things that kids love first. We need to re-inspire, reconnect kids to education, reconnect kids to a love of learning, to inquiry, to curiosity that they were born with, that schools squash, unfortunately. So it would really be important to bring back the love of not only being with our classmates, learning reading, writing, arithmetic, but learning those things that kids are passionate about, what will be relevant.
I'm going to interrupt you just for one moment, Joseph, because the question was, how would you implement and attain a waiver, and what would you foresee the stumbling blocks for PV schools to be to obtain those waivers from the county?
Okay, that's like a 10-second question. I'm going to follow the county guidelines. The students who need to be in-person instruction will be the first ones served. Period. I'm pretty sure it's laid out that way by the State Department of Ed, the way it's written, and CDC or whoever the state level health agency that writes that. It's pretty much written that way, from what I've seen.
And my understanding is that all the teachers and the unions have to sign off on it. Is that correct?
Well, that's after you get the waiver. Now you got to get your labor partners to buy in to implement the waiver. That's the implementation part. That's not the applying for, that's the implementing it. Is that the way this question's going? How would I implement, and how would I get my labor partner?
How would you implement increasing the odds that a waiver would be approved for Palos Verdes?
Serving our most needy students first.
Very nice. Thank you. Jeff, would you like to answer the question?
Well, there is a system already laid out. Unfortunately for Palos Verdes, if I remember correctly, we're probably going to be one of the last schools that's going to be allowed to be reopened in the priority that the county's been doing it. It's more of low-income areas that are going to get the priority over Palos Verdes. I would still put the application in as early as possible to be in the queue. And I would also be working diligently, which I think our board already is, with our teachers union and finding out what they need to feel comfortable to be back in the classroom themselves. And, you know, it's just all about prep and dotting the I's and crossing the T's ahead of time.
Now, my understanding is that Chadwick did get their waiver approved, and they've been back in school now, K through second grade. As we move on through, you guys answer the questions, or maybe you guys also want to comment. Do you have any input on how they were able to achieve that? Joseph, you can just answer with one or two words.
I'm a public school educator. I really don't know how that private school world works. They get a lot of things happening up there magically, or don't have to go through like district or state requirements like state architects that are a fun group to deal with. Listen, you know, I'm just going to comment. This is not a monetary thing. This is an equity thing, and this is who needs the service the most right now, guys. Okay, so if we can just kind of separate that and not turn this into a class thing, this is about learners who need instruction first, okay?
Okay, Jeff?
I have no idea of Chadwick's situation and how they were able to do what they accomplished. You know, one of the things that I've always said as far as opening the schools is we need to be looking at what other schools are doing and, you know, what is successful.
Right.
Follow those footsteps. What isn't successful, you stay away.
Right. Very good. Thank you. And Aura, what is your input on obtaining a waiver, and what do you see as some of the most obvious roadblocks to you?
Well, Stephanie, there are only 30 schools per county per week that are going to get this waiver. Now, we are really, really at the bottom of the totem pole, because the ones that are going to be given the waiver are the ones who have reduced lunch programs, you know, foster kids, ESL learners, way more than we have. The way I would see it, I work for Torrance Unified School District, and Torrance and Manhattan, they are dealing with the same thing. So I would say, how about creating a South-based strategic alliance? And actually, it's one for all and all for one. And we're actually going to go and sign a waiver to actually convince the governor to be given the same importance all the other socioeconomic schools have already qualified for, but we didn't.
Thank you. And Linda?
Yeah, so I'll try to make a couple of points. I don't disagree necessarily with my fellow candidates too much on this, only that to the extent that we're already working to try to we can fill up our schools right now with 10% of our students. So we're trying to bring back the students who need services the most. And our superintendent and his staff are making those decisions. So we brought back some special education students. I'd like us to start bringing back more, and we've talked about that as a board. And we've also talked about bringing back our TK and kindergarten students first, because they haven't been to school yet. And
Right.
these are the little ones who need to make those connections right away. And it's very hard to do. And so we can do that without the waiver. Our concern with the waiver process is we have 10 elementary schools, and how horrible would it be to bring back some and not all, right? That's not something that we're interested in entertaining, and I personally am not interested in either. So those are kind of my basic thoughts on that. Chadwick doesn't have a teachers union, so they don't have that obstacle as well.
Oh,
I'll
interesting.
say that.
On the reopening of schools again, are the schools expected to get more funding for PPE, and what are the current school requirements to be followed to meet the CDC requirements? Because my understanding is that they have to have the PPE in place to even apply for the waiver. So how would you go about making that possible so that a waiver could be considered for our schools? Joseph, would you like to answer that?
Well, yeah, this question is probably going to be, Linda will give us the most correct or complete answer because she's in the middle of it. But I've watched a few of the board meetings the last couple months, and we have plenty of PPE to go right now. Correct me if I'm wrong, Linda. We can pretty much start doing all that right now. So it's not a question of acquiring. It's going to be a question of maintaining, because PPE is expendable. It's gonna get used up. People are gonna forget their masks. We're gonna have to supply them. But more importantly is gonna be contact tracing and testing. I don't think we're up on that yet. There are other districts that will remain nameless in our area that is testing every kid, every employee. And I know, as for a matter of fact, I've been tested twice because I'm on the school site every day and I interact with the public. So when we get testing and tracing in place along with PPE, I think it'll be easier to get our labor partners to feel good about maintaining CDC guidelines and having a really safe place. And more importantly, if we have an outbreak, which what you're hearing is inevitable, possibly, that we can contact trace, isolate, and continue with everyone else.
That's great. Thank you very much, Joseph. Jeff, would you like to comment on that?
Well, as already mentioned, we do have PPE in place. The CARES Act covered a lot of those expenses for us. As a district, which I was really proud of, they had put together a committee of a lot of the different healthcare professionals in the community that also put together a pretty comprehensive plan for the schools reopening. And there's already in place the disinfecting. My daughter is one of the students that is special ed and has already started with the district. And every morning I have to do a app and show the screen is green and take her temperature. And it's been divided into very small cohorts. And I really think what we have in place is pretty effective, especially with the small cohorts. It's easy to isolate.
Very nice, thank you. And Aura, your take on
Of course, Stephanie, like on the CARES Act that was signed on March 27, 2020, I was looking actually at the budget that was adopted for our schools, and we have 4.3 million CARES Act funds that have been actually distributed among the special ed enrollment, that LCFF funding. We actually have also the learning loss mitigation that we have 1.8 millions. And then we actually have money that was set aside. It's around $300,000 to be determined. So I really believe that if we're looking at the adopted budget CARES Act projected expenditures, for 2020, 2021, we already have, money that actually we can use, should we come back.
Linda, would you like to answer the question?
Yeah, sure. So with PPE, everyone's right. We do have that in place, and that's not really an issue right now. We have not only healthcare committees, we have parent staff committees as well, working on the best practices to go back. And it really, when you talk about collaboration, you're talking about multiple levels. It's board members, it's different levels of teachers working together. It's parents working with staff. It's our classified staff who bear a huge burden of all of this work as well. And so we have to keep working at it. We will have money to do whatever it is that we need to do to bring, a certain number of kids back. It just needs to be very slow and step by step to make sure that we do everything right. And the other thing that our board has talked about too is a dashboard, so that we can see if we do have a case, obviously not with names, but that we've had a case at this school and this is what happened. And some districts that have done that, that's been very well received by parents, because everybody wants to know. We want to be open about how it's going.
Right, that's very true. In an era, of constantly tightening government budgets and increasing needs of our schools, how are you planning on to accomplish more with less? Are you going to recommend revenue increases, including voting for more taxes, or for cutting expenditures? Joseph.
Yes to all of the above, right? We're going to raise money. We're going to cut expenses. We're going to work more efficiently. I work on the school side of budgets, so I see what we get and how we can spend it and how much things cost. There are ways that we can definitely tighten our budgets as far as what we're buying for schools. I think we need to look smarter about long-term. That includes technology, not just keep buying textbooks, but how do we use technology so we eliminate textbooks? And that's a big expense. But more importantly, we have to get creative with our labor partners. Over 80% of the budget, if not 90, is going to, I don't have it in front of me, is going to be on labor costs. So how do we honor our partners and make them able to live in this part of the world and still give our students what we need? It's going to be increasing revenue. It's more importantly, it's going to be looking for collaboration with businesses, not grants, but collaborative processes.
Thank you very much. And Jeff, could you comment on that?
Well, you gave two options, and I actually think there's also a third option. I'm not really one who's looking for increasing taxes. What I am one for is looking for additional sources of revenue. And we currently are leaving money on the table and not taking advantage of other revenue from different government programs. Through the Budget Advisory Committee, I've already proposed to the district to implement. Other areas, our district developed its own wellness curriculum. I would like to see us take that curriculum and sell it to other schools. There are other ways to bring in revenue that's creative that we just haven't. I don't know if it's that we don't have the bandwidth, but we haven't gone after yet.
Are you referring to SAGE and the wellness groups on campus, or are you referring to something else that I'm not familiar with?
No, there's a we had gotten a grant a couple of years ago, and from my understanding, we're the we have the only wellness program that has been approved curriculum in the state of California. I think it's at the I think we're doing it at one or two of the high schools, and you know, I'm one for trying to develop more of our own curriculum in-house rather than licensing. And you know, I know of a district in Texas that brings in close to $1 million a year by selling a curriculum. You know, they have to provide it free to other districts in Texas, but they're selling it across the country. And you know, I'll give you an example. My daughter's in the TTI program. Her teacher developed the curriculum over 10 years. She just was one of 16 teachers in Los Angeles County that won Teacher of the Year. You know, we're the 9th ranking district according to niche.com in the state of California, 4th in Los Angeles. We have a great reputation. We have a teacher that developed a fantastic curriculum that won Teacher of the Year. Why don't we put this together and work out an arrangement where we can offer that curriculum?
Can we hear from Aura? I'm sorry. Or
Laura, could you comment?
You know, I don't know, maybe Joseph is going to agree with me or not, but the moment you're going to sell the curriculum, that pretty much means in Hollywood, you are selling what is called IP, intellectual property. So each and every teacher actually, he invested hours of education to prepare himself to go to school, to get all these degrees, to make them available for free or for the benefit of only some people in the district. Again, I would say that pretty much I would say we're walking a fine line with a lawsuit. Because again, that's IP and it's not going to be done. I mean, people would be totally disappointed if we are going to actually sell their property, intellectual property. So, Joseph, what do you think?
You know, Socrates may have some lawsuit against, because we've all borrowed from them. That's education.
Yes, but at the same time, I really believe that the way you are going to design a certain curriculum, of course, each and every district has a certain number of books that they are required to read. How you are going to interpret that, that's pretty much on an individual basis. Again, that's intellectual property. And I really, really, truly believe that if we're really going to look at closely at a certain contract, we are walking a very, very thin ice.
Linda.
I'm going to circle back to the original question, which was about budget and balancing the budget. And that's something that we got to last year, but we do have some work to get there over the next few years, that is for sure. And a lot of hard work needs to happen, and the board needs to collaborate to make some hard decisions. I don't believe personally in deficit spending, so I always look at it at that eye. What do we need to do to get ourselves there? Mr. Jaleva is correct. 85% roughly of our budget goes to salaries, so there's just not a lot of wiggle room in a lot of ways there. That's not bad. It's just a fact of how it is. I ask a lot of questions about hiring and salaries, and you know, when we change something and we say, oh, we're not going to need a position anymore, I always want to make sure that that's happens, because sometimes it doesn't. And another thing we've done some, which I'm very proud of, is that our district level administrators earn raises based on merit now, instead of a Me Too clause, which is what you call, which is basically just we get it, whatever we,
right.
With the Teachers Association, the administrators get that too. And so that's something that's a little bit different that we've done. But like I said, it's a collaborative process for sure to solve.
Aura.
Stephanie, I mean, if it's coming down to raising taxes, and then we are referring ourselves to Prop 15, and let's consider actually that we live in an affluent community, but 40% are actually white collar and almost 5% are blue collar. And this population in Palos Verdes is aging, so they live on a certain income, and the moment we are going to raise the taxes, it's going to be affecting them first and foremost. Now, if we're looking at Prop 15, 40% of the funds will actually go to education, providing 4.1 billion a year for K to 12 and 506 million per year for community colleges. Let me be very specific. It's 40%. 60% it's going to so-called local communities to help fund essential services. Why don't we call this miscellaneous instead of education proposition? So I would say absolutely no to raise the taxes. We have to be creative and find other strategies. The Peninsula Education Foundation, it's already bridging, part of the gap, but probably we should go out on a school basis and kind of like partner up with businesses. And yes, last time I said adopt a school, we should really go out per school and try to find the right funds. The lack in funds really, it's different from one school to another. We have to look at them on an individual basis. That's one. Two.
Or I have to interrupt you and go to the next candidate, but we'll come back to that because that's a very good vein that you're on. Joseph, are you opposed or are you for Proposition 15?
I choose not to talk about how I think this came up the last time. I don't think it's really appropriate to ask us our individual opinions. We have many factors in our lives why we vote the way we vote. And the fact that I'm going to vote, I think, is the accurate question. And yes, I will vote on that measure.
Very nice, thank you. And Jeff, are you opposed or in favor of Proposition 15 for our schools?
Ditto what Joe just said.
Okay, and Aura sounds like she's opposed to it. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
As it relates to our schools.
Stephanie, let me give you an example.
Yes.
I came from a communist country, okay? So the moment something is going to go up, like we're going to raise taxes, immediately the gas is going to go up. Now, every producer is going to increase percentage-wise the price for his own products. Now, the delivery man is going to increase, and then the seller. So the moment you are going to raise the taxes, everything is going to go up, and there is no way to reverse them. I've been in the United States for 23 years. I haven't seen one single year when the gas prices went down or the tax prices on our properties, went down. It's always going up, and already we have a problem with raised taxes in California. We don't need more than what we already have.
Thank you. And Linda, your comment on that.
Yeah, so I'll repeat what I said the last time we talked about this, which is just that this is a nonpartisan elected office. And so there are definitely times where we advocate as board members on issues and as people as well. With this measure, if very little, if any, of this money would come to our district, but that doesn't mean you might still support it because you feel like money should be going to other districts, and that's your choice to make as a voter. I would say, for me personally, I believe in advocating with our legislators. I like to give them a hard time because I think sometimes they don't do a very good job about representing their constituents. And special education funding is something where dollars are not attached to kids that need to be attached to kids now. And that's something that's improving and getting better, but that's taking advocacy. And there are other ways for us to advocate for more for everybody, which means more for us and more for lower income districts. We don't need to fight them. But as far as specific propositions, it's just not appropriate.
Very nice. And Joseph?
Yeah, can I just say we're talking about human capital here,
Right.
Not bottom lines, not spreadsheets. These are kids. These are human beings that are going to be inheriting what we leave behind. So let's just, because I'm kind of taken aback that we're at 7:40 and we've talked about budget and pandemic, and we haven't really talked about any learning or teaching yet. So tell me when we get to the education part of the education show, I'll be here. Thanks.
Which brings me to a great question that Betty brought up. She emailed us. She said, what are your thoughts on dealing with problematic teachers who are tenured? Joseph.
Wow, that's loaded. Problematic teachers. Well, how do we deal with problematic kids? How do we deal with problematic adults? How do we problematic family members? I believe that it's not the individual. It's not, I believe that I assume good intentions, that people can be trained, people can be brought back in. And if not, I believe that one of the big problems that we have in PV, and believe me, I've seen literally hundreds, not hundreds, tens of thousands of hours of classroom instruction over the 30 years. And I've seen a lot in PV. I've walked a lot of classes at Merrill Est, Maricat, some of the greatest teachers I've seen, and some of the teachers who need a lot of assistance. And I've worked with a lot of teachers like that throughout my career. How would we deal with this? We are going to establish standards. There are no standards in this district for the teaching profession. We will look at that collaboratively with our partners, and we will establish what excellent teaching looks like. We haven't even talked about that. We have no choice but to learn how to teach remotely right now. We have no choice. So let's put some time and effort into that instead of pushing to try to get everybody back in right now. So I believe that every teacher is valuable, every teacher is needed, and believe me, I think every parent on this hill after this pandemic can appreciate the jobs that the teachers do every day.
Thank you very much, Joseph. And Jeff, how would you deal with problematic teachers who are tenured in the school that you don't think are giving the kids enough education?
Well, it's not necessary. It's an assumption that the teacher is problematic. Before I semi-retired, I was a third-ranking executive of a company of over $1 billion company, where I had about 1/3 of the staff reporting to me, and many times it's having an employee in the wrong position or that is no longer being challenged. There are some teachers that are excellent in doing honors classes that wouldn't be good for a more of a standard class, and sometimes it's moving a teacher into a different setting and giving them new challenges and seeing if they can rise to the occasion.
Aura, what is your take on this?
Well, I would have a question for you, Stephanie. Define problematic.
I'm assuming that she meant a teacher that isn't meeting the criteria on teaching the children what they are required to learn for that grade. Someone that just isn't meeting the mark year after year, but they're highly tenured. How do you move somebody out and somebody else in who's more motivated?
Got it. Well, first of all, I think that Palos Verdes is dealing with Common Core. And, if we're looking at the Common Core, the scores went down, but that's not the issue here. The issue is that each and every teacher is working in cohorts. So if before Common Core, everybody was kind of like doing whatever he or she wanted, right now with Common Core, they have 9th grade, PLCs, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. So they are working with each other. And I really believe that by partnering up, an instructor, a teacher who is going through rough times with somebody that is doing an amazing job, that can be one, considered a solution. Number two, I really believe that very many times we are talking about being tolerant and coming to a common denominator. Mediation might work as well. And then number three, I really believe that especially nowadays, everybody is dealing with so many different personal issues, health issues. So if we're going to talk about problematic teachers that are right now because they don't want to go to school, back to school, or problematic teachers in general, and I think the solutions would be a little bit different.
Thank you so much. And Linda, what is your take on this?
Well, I'm guessing that Betty's question is coming from a personal experience as a parent, right?
Probably.
99% of our teachers are doing a great job and our kids have great experiences. But if you have that one bad experience for your child, it can be heartbreaking and it can impact their education. So I understand. I'm guessing that's where the question is coming from. There is a formal process that unions go through to dismiss a teacher that's not performing. It's not pleasant and not something that's done very often at all. But it does happen occasionally. And I think the other issue really is that, in bad economic times, because of how unions are structured, that sometimes good young teachers are lose their jobs when tenured teachers. That's just part of the system. It's not anything we can do anything about. Mentoring is a big part of it, and we do a lot of that. We've done a lot of professional development with our teachers for remote instruction. We offered optional paid time, which very few districts have done. So, but that doesn't mean there's not more we can do, because there is. But I think you do have to go into it thinking that every teacher, has the best intent to teach their students and to collaborate and mentor.
Yes. So you'll each have 1 minute for your closing statements. Joseph, would you like to start with that? And I would also like to add that there are more questions, and I encourage a lot of the people that have been asking questions to engage directly with the candidates on their website via email. They would love to hear from you. There's never enough time for these kinds of things. But I would love, Joseph, for you to share your closing statements with us.
Okay. Well, once again, thank you for the opportunity tonight to share. This is about our kids. This is about the fabric of Palos Verdes. What do we want our future to be? What do we want to bring back when we come back to the quote unquote, whatever normal is going to be? I want to remind you, my experience, my connection to the Hill, my passion, and the innovation that it will lead to. I'm committed to working for this district. I am committed to making sure that our children and our children's children come back to this wonderful place that we have strived to get to, which is Palos Verdes. That is why many of us have moved here, for the schools, so our kids get this great experience. Now we need our kids to come back and give back to their community. And we need to establish the connection between the schools, the community, and the parents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Joseph. That was great. Jeff, would you like to share your closing statements?
Sure. To start off is, I'm a person of action. For years, I've been actively involved in our fantastic school district. I currently work with many of our district's administrators and board members. As the vice chairman of the Parcel Tax Oversight Committee, I had proposed that we create transparency by publishing a document that states the amount of the revenue we take in and how it is spent. We did. Being a member of the Budget Advisory Committee, I treat your money as if it were my own. I know where operational improvements need to take place. I have ideas on how to bring more dollars into the district. For the last 6 years, I've lobbied for the creation of a special education advisory group. I'm proud to say one has been created, and I was selected to serve as a member. I've been fortunate to have had a successful business career that has afforded me the ability to retire early. I have the time to meet with PTA groups, booster clubs, teachers, parents, all the stakeholders that make our district great. I will consider it an honor to serve as a school board member and serve the people of Palos Verdes. And I hope to get your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. That was great. Thank you very much. And Aura, can we hear your closing statements?
I'm going to close again with a quote by Maya Angelou. I've learned that over the years, people are going to forget what you said. People are going to forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. I think through this challenging time, it's really, really important, all of us, to come to a common denominator and really serve our students, because that's why this is a board of education, and maintain the high standards, but also at the same time, be very transparent with our budget, help all the ones in need, especially mentally and physically during this pandemic time. So I think I bring a very new approach, an international background when it's coming down to teaching. I've been exposed to so many different types of curriculum, Romanian, German, French, And I'm also, I think, the only one right now that has a PhD in world humanities. So thank you.
Thank you, Aura. Thank you very much. And Linda, your closing statements.
Sure, thank you. So overall, I take the role of representing the people who live in this community very seriously. I prepare for every meeting so that I can make the best decisions for our kids. I talk with parents, I talk with teachers, I talk with elected officials from both sides of the aisle all the time. And I'm running for re-election because I feel like my experience can help this district move forward. And one of the things that people watching tonight should think about is, which candidate do I trust to make the decisions about issues we can't anticipate? That's really one of the core things. And I've made the tough decisions during the pandemic and before by listening, by being kind, and by using my critical thinking skills to advocate for our kids. I'll continue to contribute to the board as its longest tenured member if I'm elected. My business and college admissions background, my knowledge of the district and its history, and my writing and editing, and my advocacy skills. I'm a passionate advocate for our students. We're all volunteers, and I'd be happy to serve alongside any of these three candidates. Local elections are very, very important. Thank you for making them even more important by hosting an event like this. I wish all the local candidates in November the best of luck. And please check out all of our websites and email all of us if people didn't get their questions answered. That's a great idea. Thank you. Because we're all happy to do that.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much to all of you. We are out of time tonight. Thank you to all the viewers and the audience who presented questions. Thank you to all of you candidates for participating tonight and preparing and making yourselves available. Tune in, audience, for tomorrow night at 7 p.m. to hear from the candidates running for the Palos Verdes Estate City Council. Until then, thank you and have a good night.
Thank you, Stephanie. Great job.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Hi, good evening, and thank you everyone for tuning in to tonight's important candidates forum for the Board of Trustees election to the Palos Verdes Library District. I am John Cruikshank, Mayor of Rancho Palos Verdes, a city that truly loves our libraries. The Palos Verdes Library District represents all four of the peninsula cities and was founded in 1928. The three Palos Verdes libraries are run by an independent special district, which is a separate government entity that gets a tiny percentage of property tax revenues. The elected Board of Library Trustees is the policy-making body representing the taxpayers. The board is like the Library District City Council. Three libraries in our area are Peninsula Center, Malaga Cove, and Marilest, and they also have an extensive e-library. This year, the Palos Verdes Library District has 2 seats up for election. There is one incumbent running, and there is one open seat because incumbent and current president, Kay Ju, is not running for re-election. It is true very few people know that there is a library board and that its members are elected or that the PV libraries are run by this special district. Before we introduce our candidates tonight, let me acknowledge the sponsors of tonight's forum. Kevin Cody and the Peninsula People's News and Easy Reader News, Hermosa1.com, and Voodoo Media Services. So now let me welcome our candidates tonight. Our first candidate is Ray Randall. We also have Kingston Wong. We have Zoe Uno and Bob Nelson. So the rules of the discussion tonight are the candidates will be given 2 minutes for opening statements. Then we will have a number of questions that we'll be asking them, and each candidate will have 1 minute to answer those questions. And then finally, at the end, each candidate will have 1 minute for a closing statement. So with that, we'll start in alphabetical order tonight with our opening statements from Bob Nelson. Bob?
Thank you very much, Mayor Cruikshank. I am Bob Nelson. I'm delighted to have you here joining us tonight on this discussion. And the first thing we got to figure out is, what does the library district serve? Who is the audience? Well, Political Data Inc., which is kind of a dumping ground for trivia that every politician uses, says the library district for 2020 fall election is 49,000 voters, 22,000 homes, and believe it or not, 55.1% of the population is over 55. Party affiliation, Republicans and Democrats are basically split at 40, but 19.5% have stated no opinion. They will, of course, run the election. But I assume a good number of you have already voted. But those who haven't, the question is, why am I running? And the corollary question is, what are all of us running for? What is a library trustee? As Mayor Cruikshank has said, a trustee is similar to being on the board of directors. You are going to set and establish policies for the operational staff. You're going to approve financial statements, budget and reported and audits. You're going to approve a union contract with the staff. You're going to hire when necessary, and all other items the staff or legal require. So what is my skill set that I am bringing to this? My city's Finance Advisory Committee and 8 years on the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission, as you know, deals with senior level reviews, compromises, and approvals. And I am running to be able to continue this community service for all cities, not just mine. And if you agree, I would be of value on our library board. I really would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Ray?
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. My name is Ray Randall, and I'm very, very pleased to be running for the board of directors for the Palos Verdes Library District. We moved to Palos Verdes here in 1983, and we immediately realized what a treasure we had with the libraries, the 3 libraries. Our children attended the public schools here and utilized many, many of the valuable services. Once I retired, I began to use the library even more. And then in January of 2017, I was asked to be a board member for the Friends of the Library. Friends of the Library Board. Once I joined that group, we had a campaign to build a teen annex, and I was asked to be the chair of the fundraising committee. We had a goal to raise $300,000, and we successfully raised $350,000. Additionally, I presently serve as the audit chair for the Friends of the Library, and I also am involved in the used book sales program, where we contribute raise almost $200,000 for the library. I realize what the strengths and weaknesses we have, and I think there are 5 key areas that we need to focus on. 1 is maintaining the excellent library and staff. 2, addressing our unfunded pension liabilities and obligations. 3, writing a long-term plan. 4, maintaining our salaries, or our facilities, excuse me. And 5, reopening the library safely to all folks. Please help me in enhancing the library experience for all members of the Palos Verdes community. I cannot wait to serve on the board. I appreciate your vote, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Ray. Zoe?
Hello, and thank you to the sponsors for inviting me to this forum. I'm a candidate for the Board of Trustees for the Palos Verdes Library District, and as a trustee, I intend to use my knowledge of libraries and enthusiasm to work with the board and library leadership to continue to provide the community with innovative and responsive library services, materials, and programming, and to find solutions to financial issues that may impact the ability to continue to do so in the future. My relationship with the library district began as an intern while I was earning my master's in library and information science degree. And I had the opportunity to work with a dedicated staff and understand the tremendous commitment they have to the library district and the community, as well as observe how the library functions. I have over 14 years of experience working in health science medical libraries, academic libraries, including those in the Cal State and UC systems and private university. And in those positions, I provided instruction and use of library materials, managed budgets, personnel, and provided strategic direction to the library, ensuring high quality services and resources for the community served. And as an active member of library associations, I remain aware of trends in libraries and strategically implement them in my work. I see the same in the Palos Verdes Library District. My background provides me with a unique insight of libraries and will allow me to fully participate as an engaged and informed member of the board. Some of my priorities include invigorating responsive library services, supporting sustainable infrastructure improvements that leverage evidence-based practices, and understanding the financial liabilities and exploring solutions that will ensure that we continue to meet the community needs.
Thank you, Zoe. Kingston?
Yeah. Hi there. My name is Kingston Wong. I am one of 5 trustees for the Palos Verdes Library District. Currently, we have 2 seats that you will be voting to fill, and hopefully you will return me as one of those trustees. If I were to return as a trustee, interestingly enough, I would probably be the longest tenured of the 5 when we reconvene in December, January, and hopefully you will return me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kingston. So now it's time to ask the candidates submitted questions by voters and readers of the Peninsula People News and others that I have developed. And we'll be going in a random order, and I will say your first name when you're asked the question. So the first question is, why did you decide to run for the Palos Verdes Library District? Bob?
This is a job for the community. It is one that I believe I can do. If I didn't think I could do it, I wouldn't run. I believe I have a skill set that could be of value. I believe I have a reputation for being a person of my word, a listener, a compromiser, a reader of those dense documents, and a person who values our community and wants it to have the maximum benefit for our library. One thing I would do, we're going to spend money only on needs, not wants. But I do think I can do this. I want to do it. And again, I'll ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Zoe, same question.
I decided to run for the seat or one of the seats because I value what the library offers to the community. And as I described with my experience, I have an understanding of the library and how we can go about implementing programming, distribution of resources to make sure that we continue to meet the needs of our diverse community as it changes over the time. Just as communities continuously change, libraries continuously change. And it's important to recognize that and make sure that we're implementing practices that will continue to meet all of the needs of the diverse community members.
Ray, same question.
Thank you. I have a passion for the libraries. I'm sure that most of us on the Hill have visited all three of the branches, Miro Est, Penn Center, and Malaga Cove. And when you walk into these under normal times, it's just amazing to see how much of a valuable asset they are to our community. People of all ages use these and they take advantage of the services that we offer. The reason I'm running is I think we could even do more. I think we can make this amazing asset really an inviting center for all ages, all members, no matter what age you are, where you're from, to utilize these libraries and enhance the experience, make it really a true community center. And that's why I want to be involved. Thank you.
Kingston?
I first got involved with the Board of Trustees because I really believed that the libraries are one of those amenities of life that make living in the Palos Verdes Peninsula what it is. My sister and I have used heavily the library since we moved in 1975 and we're students. I think that the library is one of those, dare I call it a utility, where just like the water and the power, as long as the water flows and electricity turns on, when you flip the switch, you don't think much about it. But I tell you, now that we have such things as the pandemic and you can't access the library facilities the way you used to do them, I think that maybe people will now pay more attention to the library system. But the bottom line is that it is really one of those amenities of living here in Palos Verdes that I want to help maintain.
Thanks. Second question, what strengths do you have that will serve you best as a Palos Verdes Library District Board of Trustee? Ray, let's start with you.
First of all, I have an intimate knowledge of what goes on in the libraries, having served on the Friends Board, and I utilize the libraries as well. I've been the audit chair for two boards. One is the Friends of the Library, and two is CASA, Court Appointed Special Advocates. I have a degree in economics and a master's degree in finance, so I think I can really provide valuable insight into hope to solve the financial problems of our unfunded pensions obligations. So I think that I can really add a lot to the Board of the Trustees with my financial experience. Thank you.
Zoe?
So some of the strengths I bring to serve best as a trustee include the fact that I've managed several libraries. And in doing so, I've managed staff, budgets, set strategic direction, and written or revised policies that guided how the library functioned. And given that those are all responsibilities of trustees, that gives me a unique perspective on libraries and how important those factors are in serving as a trustee. Also, it requires that we know not only the community, but we also understand the staff and their needs and work closely with administration to ensure that we're doing what's right for all of the parties that the library serves.
Bob,
You're asking kind of what skill set would I bring?
that's correct.
I'm basically bringing 12 years of community service and reviewing, commenting and approving agendas, projects, and policies at a level that where my job was approved by the city council. RPV is a unique town, and I tell you, we were very busy doing exactly almost what this job would entail. Budgets, audits, planning, looking at the future. This is a job, the trustee's job is not going down into the library. The trustee's job is to set policies, to set the work environment, and to respond to questions at their level. And I bring, as I say, 12 years to that. And again, I believe I can do an excellent job for our library. Thank you.
Kingston?
I think that everybody in this group brings unique life experiences. Myself, I have experience as a small business owner. Currently, I'm engaged in the financial services industries, but I think that what I bring is the fact that I am an incumbent. I do have the longest tenure of any member of the Board of Trustees if I were to be returned. I have institutional knowledge as well as the cultural knowledge of the organization.
Okay, thank you. Next question. What do you think are the major issues facing our libraries today? And we'll start with Zoe.
Okay, so I'll talk about two issues, starting out with reopening. So I recognize and understand that members of the community would like to reopen the library to physical visits. The library has continued to, and in my opinion, have admirably done an amazing job of continuing to provide service to the community, pivoting and still meeting the needs of the community during this time. It's important that we recognize that the library reopen only when they can do so safely for the community as well as for the staff of the library. And that would involve a thorough review of the evidence-based practices on how to go about doing that. And I'm at the minutes, so I won't go over the second one.
Thank you, Zoe. Kingston.
What was the question again?
So the question is, what do you think are the major issues facing our libraries today?
Our libraries today, in terms of Palos Verdes Library District, is again reopening the library district. We do have some concerns about unfunded pension liabilities, and we do have a plan forming right now to try to deliver on the teen annex that has been delayed. But I think those are three pretty busy pieces of work going right there.
Okay. Ray, same question.
Yes, I think we also have three main issues, in my opinion. One is the facilities. We cannot let facilities go unattended for. We need a new roof. We need a lot of help within the library system right now, our treasured facilities. We cannot let those, we cannot delay any of those required maintenance issues. The unfunded pension obligations are a serious matter. We need to find a way to address this and address it now. It's going to be a serious problem. It is now, and it will be much worse as we go forward. And I also agree about reopening the library safely. I will say the staff is doing a tremendous job right now. Last month in September, we checked out over 10,000 books via curbside service. So the staff is working very, very hard right now under very difficult conditions. So those are the three issues that I would focus on. Thank you.
Thank you. And Bob?
Yeah, we have obviously a COVID issue. That is one that, quite frankly, has a lot of tentacles to it. COVID for us will be answered by the state and by the health departments. But we need to we hope to get that library open as soon as possible and return some of the good income, such as doing the passports and having meetings. I do think we have a serious problem with finance, but only in the pensions. 92% of our income comes from property tax. Property taxes are not going down. We're very fortunate in that regard, as Mayor Cruikshank can tell you. I think that we need to concentrate on that. One thing we can do is go out and talk to their libraries. What are they doing? Because we have the same problems they have. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, all four of you have been involved with our community, so you should be able to answer this one. Tell us about a project or an accomplishment within our community that you're most proud of. And we'll start with Kingston.
Well, let's put it this way. I think that if we're talking about projects, the only thing I can talk about really are the projects related to the library, because I can't lay claim to anything else taking on in the community. In terms of the accomplishments, I would go ahead and focus on what the library has been able to do in terms of circulation of materials during this pandemic situation. The uncomfortable thing is that we are circulating as much material as if we were open, but that's not a good substitute for being open.
Okay. Bob.
I'm going to surprise you all. The project I am most proud of is being a Scoutmaster for Troop 274 in PVE. We produced 34 Eagle Scouts. Each one of them has gone out into the community and made a name for themselves. That is something that very few people have experienced and very few people can enjoy. But the idea of taking a young man when he's 11 years old and a little shave tail and having him walk out ready to go to med school just about is very, very unique. And it was my pleasure and my privilege to do this. And I will always say that was the one thing in my life I am proudest of. Thank you.
Zoe.
I'm like Bob will surprise you. So even though I'm a graduate of PV Estates Citizens Academy, and I've worked on Heal the Bay site cleanups, what I'm proudest of is my oldest son was an Eagle Scout, and our family was involved in a restoration project over in Rancho Palos Verdes, restoring that area to its natural beauty. And, you know, that was a contribution to the overall Peninsula community and organized by my son, you know, after all of his years as a Boy Scout and making it to Eagle. And so, you know, I have that Eagle mom pin that I wear proudly. And so that's one of my proudest accomplishments.
And Ray.
Well, Bob, on my honor, I tell you, we'll tell the truth here. So, and I know you know what I'm saying there.
Yep.
So the significant things I'm proud of as a volunteer, first of all, I've got to start with being on the Friends board. It's been an amazing experience for me to deal with a number of community volunteers and the amount of passion and effort and time we all put into the system, basically to raise money for the library. And we contribute upwards of $400,000 to the library every year. Secondly, I'm a board member, I'm a past board member of CASA, Court Appointed Special Advocates, and we advocate for children in the foster care system. And lastly, I prepare taxes on a volunteer basis for ARP, and we prepare taxes for people that need help with them down in the old Torrance area. So I'm very proud of that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All good answers, all four. What role do you see the Palos Verdes Library District playing in our future? And Bob, we'll start with you.
It's going to be a challenge. We are in an area where research is being done at home. No longer do you go to the library and pour through the microfilm. You do your research at home. We need to find a reason to exist. Our library has done an excellent job with that, with all of the peripheral activities they participate in. But I can tell you, we need to continue to explore. Now, one area I'd like to talk about is the area of those who are 55 and over. Near the Peninsula Library, I believe we have some 240 units of plus 55 that are in the process of being sold. Our future, I think, depends on getting them involved in the library. So we got to go out and ask them, what do you want your library to provide? But I appreciate the question. We've got a very challenging future. Thank you.
Thank you. Kingston?
I think that, it was once asked of me, why do we even need libraries anymore? It's just a place where you go to check out books. And I think that if you take a look at some of the other models taking place around the state of California and the country, libraries are becoming community centers in a great degree. So we do provide the traditional things such as checking out educational materials, being a place to study, being a place to just relax. It's not unusual for us to sometimes be a cooling center for residents who don't have air conditioning during the hotter months. And then we have a lot of activities, which again draws on that community-centered aspect of it. So as society changes, the libraries also change. And I think that that's the real thing that we have to do. We have to keep up with the changes in society and meet the needs.
Ray?
Yeah, thank you. I would stress that we can go forward being valuable to the community. You walk into the library now and you see a lot of small meetings. You see kids being tutored. You see groups meeting in the community room. You see realtors meeting. It can be even broadened to incorporate more opportunities for people to meet. The Teen Annex is something that we're working on, and we hope we can implement that program, not just in the Penn Center, but for the entire community. Bob, you mentioned Merrill Gardens, the senior community moving right next door to the library. Well, tomorrow I'm moving my dad into Merrill Gardens. And one of the reasons I picked that location was because of the library, where these folks can literally walk to one of the most valuable resources here in the community. So I think we can do a lot more. Thank you.
Zoe?
When I think about the role that the library could plays in the future, I think about the fact that the library has a different role for everyone. Everyone comes to the library with a different need that they're seeking to have fulfilled, and the library does that. For some people, it's entertainment. For some people, they're seeking help with job skills to change find a job or change their current job. And for some people, it's just having a place to go during the day. So it serves different roles for different people. One of the roles I'm very interested in seeing how it plays out is the racial equity program that is being staff-led and currently is amongst the staff, but ultimately there appeared to be plans to roll it out to the community. And I'm very interested to see how that functions within our community.
Thank you. So the next question is, how would you explain the importance of our library district to a potential donor? Let's start with Ray.
We've seen some very significant donations in the last year, and they've mostly come in the form of naming rights. But and the most significant one recently was for the children's area, and we have a wonderful, wonderful reading program and a children's activity center. That once people see the value of that, they really want to get involved, and they see what a true asset the children's area is, not only in terms of learning to read and see the value of reading, but also artwork and just true nature of having these young people, often, very often with their parents, mostly with their parents, grow together within our library system. Thank you.
Bob?
I think for a potential donor, they need to feel that their contribution is going to be worthwhile and accomplish something. I know I have a friend of mine who very often gets these things, and if there's not a purpose to it, the money is not there. So what we need to do is we would have to tell a potential donor how important we are to the community, what our attraction is, that we can do more and be specific. Tell them where you'd like his money to go or her money to go. You also say we can improve what we have. I don't think in today's modern technology, you can always use $1 million for computers. That is the type of thing we have to do. They have to understand their money is going to be used for the benefit of the community to accomplish something. Thank you.
Zoe?
It's important to show the impact of the library on the community. And, as someone mentioned the statistics on the usage of the library during the pandemic. And so it demonstrates that the library served an important role in the lives of our community during an unprecedented time. Also, the library holds the history of the community. And so it helps people see where this community started, how it's gotten to this point, and will continue to hold the history of the community. And these are two very important aspects of having the library district as part of our community. And I would think that donors would be happy to be a part of that, continuing that position in the community.
Okay, thank you. Kingston?
Based on my time with the Board of Trustees, the one thing that I've really noticed is those individuals who have given, who have donated, are those individuals who actually had a relationship with the library. And the reason why they give to the library is because there is something that connects to them. It could be the children's education function. It could be the movie evenings that we host. Based off the relationship that we have with our donors, they give because they want to go ahead and encourage and perpetuate that thing that resonates with them. Other than that, though, if it was just to create a conversation, I'd have to go ahead and describe the various programs that we do have to find out which program resonates with a potential donor.
Okay. Do you think there are opportunities for more technologies or automation at our libraries? And for this, we'll start with Zoe.
Because technology is always changing, yes, there are always going to be opportunities for more technology or updated technology. And again, because it's always changing, you'll need to continue to invest in those technologies. And so that requires being on top of what's available, how it can be used within our libraries, and what impact it will have on the members of the community who are using those technologies. And so for some people, it's going to be very basic technologies, and for other people, it's going to be the more advanced technologies. But what's important is to be aware of what's available and to ensure that it's being brought into the library so that people can take advantage of it.
Okay, Ray?
That's a great question. I think you have to look at it in terms of the different groups or ages of people that will use the library. You might find a 10-year-old that wants to do gaming, and you might find a person more senior that just wants to know how to open up an email account. So I think that we can, through online learning and online education, teach and help members of our community in all the different age groups. We have free online language programs at the library office that many people don't even know about. And so these are things that I think that as we explain to people how to use them, I think we'll be using them much, much more effectively. Thank you.
Bob?
Sure. I think when you're talking about technology, you never will have all the answers. I think it's very important, if you want to improve your technology, get out and talk to other libraries, see what they're doing tech-wise that gets your attention. They may be doing a lot of things, but they'll have that one little thing that'll get your attention. We have to be very careful when we're doing technology, because I'll tell you, there are a lot of fakes out there when it comes to, we can do this job. Don't worry about it. Give us $100,000, you'll never see it. We have to be very, very protective of the money we're given. But I do think, as far as idea for you, get out there and talk to other libraries, see what they're doing. Go down to the LA Public Library, see what they're doing that you might be able to do, something that got your attention. That I think is going to be a good use of technology. Thank you.
Kingston.
Interesting enough, there was a period of time in which we actually toyed with ideas of getting a 3D printer, and that idea got nixed. I think that when it comes to technology, one of the important things that we need to be careful about is making sure that whatever it is that we purchase, there's some durability to it for longevity purposes. It has to be able to be used by a wide range or reasonably wide range of people, as opposed to just a very narrow niche of heavy users. Bottom line, though, is that we do guard our use of technology money jealously. We want to make sure that whatever we buy doesn't become obsolete too quickly, is accessible to a wide range of people, and as I mentioned before, has some durability to it. So yeah, we'll do technology purposes in a reasonable manner.
Okay, thank you. So this question is multi-part question. How do you envision the role of libraries 10 years from now? Will there still be a place for brick and mortar libraries? Will it share books in print or only digitally? Will its roles expand to include other services? And if so, what would those services be? We'll start with Kingston.
I guess the question is, are people going to continue being social beings? And as long as people continue to be social beings, they're going to need a place to meet and gather. So yes, there will be a continual need for the library. Just come in when the library was open to see what we look like after school. The kids come in not just to go ahead and socialize, but socialize with purpose, to study, to look for material. And then, of course, I alluded to the fact that, we are in many cases becoming community centers. So we will change with the time, but libraries are going to look very, very similar. There are going to be things that you recognize, but we will be adding features that you probably didn't think of before.
Okay, great. Bob?
Sure, the role of the library 10 years from now. We have no idea what that will be. But I will tell you this, in my opinion, I don't think books will be that important, because you'll be able to go on the computer and find just about any book you want. I do feel, however, that they will have a role in the community. That role will probably heavily involve being a meeting place. I do think there are a lot of services that we do right now that we'll still be doing 10 years from now. But the role of the libraries as the 20th century library, I think, is going to be very, very diminished. Books are not going to save the library. Thank you.
Zoe?
Where do I envision libraries in 10 years? I envision them still being a brick and mortar location with books still available. I've worked in libraries where the decision was made to eliminate a lot of the print content in favor of electronic. The library users still wanted the physical materials to interact with. When we think about the people who are coming into the libraries, they all have very different needs. They all have very different ways of interacting with the materials and accessing the materials. And one thing I haven't talked about at all tonight, but the fact that the library is the great equalizer. So regardless of whether someone's able to afford a computer in their home, they have access to those at the library and need a computer for electronic access. And so the library will still be around in 10 years.
Right.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, if you asked this question 10 years ago, we would have probably said, gosh, they're not going to be anymore. But the libraries are thriving right now. People love books. Are we selling as many books, bookstores? No. People like books. People are buying books on Kindle. People like to read. But I do think that with some of the other comments are absolutely correct. People are using the libraries now as community centers. And I think we're going to be able to have equipment and opportunities at our facilities for people to utilize them. Computers may not be available for everyone, but we will have them available for people in the community to use. And I think we will continue to thrive as a library, not necessarily to check out a book. That'll happen, but it'll also be many, many more opportunities for us to serve the community. Thank you.
So last week, Los Angeles County issued reopening orders for libraries. So the question is, what measures should the PV Library District be taking for the reopening process? And we'll start with Ray.
I think we have a challenge. I think a lot of people are getting used to not having the library open and just going online and checking out a book and going to the curb and picking it up. So the staff is going to have to adjust to this. I mean, are the people going to come back? Yes, they will come back, but it's going to take a while. People are going to have to feel safe. Is a book that's been returned, has it been cleaned? Is it safe to check out? So we have to do a lot of things thinking about the quarantining of books and cleaning the desks. So we have a big opportunity here to serve the community, but it has to be safe for both the employees and the patrons. Thank you.
Kingston.
One of the things I'd like to say really quickly is that, when you go online to look for a book, it kind of presupposes that you know what it is that you're looking for. And sometimes when things are suggested to you, it's usually suggested to you because there's a commercial interest in directing you to that piece of material. When it comes to a library, one of the nice things is the joy that could come from random discovery. You go through those racks and you look at the spines and you discover things you never thought of before. I think that right now we've got an interesting situation where we can maintain circulation by doing the curbside service. If we want to maintain the curbside service, it kind of takes away from our utilization of the rooftop parking. But I do think that there is a way because, for example, Malaga Cove and Merless does have smaller staffing requirements and does have smaller amounts of people can let in. There's a possibility to go ahead and open up those two satellite facilities first under reasonable measures and still maintain circulation using the curbside service. We'll try to get the libraries open as quickly as reasonably possible safely.
Zoe.
So your question was about how to go about opening safely?
The question is, what measures should the library district be taking to start the reopening process?
Okay, so foremost is to understand the safety measures that need to be in place in order to open and make sure that those are set up and that everyone understands what the expectations are. You can read the newspaper, see stories of places that reopened and then had to shut down again because they had cases of COVID show up in their space. So if we're allowing people in the library, you're going to have to make sure that you're monitoring where they're going so that you're cleaning, sanitizing those spaces, that you have a plan for dealing with people who come in and refuse to wear a mask. So there are a lot of safety considerations to take into to think of when you plan to reopen the library.
Bob?
Yeah, there are two things. One, staff. You have to prepare the staff for reopening, and that includes our furloughed part-timers. We're going to need them if we're going to reopen. Secondly, Ray hit the nail on the head when he said safe. People are going to be reluctant to go into that library if they don't feel it is 100% safe. At my age, I am what they call a prime candidate for COVID. And let me tell you, I don't do a lot of exploring, right? I'm kind of hunkered down right now. I think the library has to be safe. I think Zoe's pointed out you're going to have to do a lot of cleaning all the time. Well, they're the part-timers. But things have to be safe, including the books as they come in and go out. But I do think the staff and being safe are two things we're going to have to address. Thank you.
Thank you. As time constraints, I believe this will be the last question before your closing statements. So what do you see as the primary job of a Palos Verdes Library District library trustee? Kingston, we'll start with you.
I think that the primary role of the trustee is to act as the eyes and ears of the public, to work with and through the district director. We don't micromanage staff. We, sometimes we'll have coffee conversations to get clarification on things as a sidebar conversation. But again, it is to use the director as the primary point of contact to implement whatever change we think should take place. And most of that is done through the vehicle of the monthly trustee board meeting.
Okay, Ray?
Yeah, I think we set policy. But I echo what Bob said. We have to know what the community wants. We have to be out there, and the more we know what they want, the more effective we can be as policymakers. So we have to be intimately familiar with the library and our general population. I do think the unfunded pension obligations are a serious problem, and I think we need to address those now as opposed to later. So I believe those are the three primary issues or priorities that the trustees need to address. Thank you.
Bob?
I believe the question is the role of the trustee, right?
That's correct. The primary role or job of the trustee.
Well, this is a board of directors job. This is not down working actually physically in the library. We're going to set policies. We're going to establish policies. We're going to approve financial statements, budgets, income, expenses, and audits. We're going to approve a union contract with the staff. We're going to hire when necessary, and we're going to do whatever else the staff or the legal says we should do. Now, the trustee has to do that with one thing. He has to understand a smile, and he has to understand compromise. Because in this divisive world we're in right now, the word compromise has disappeared, but it is absolutely critical to a trustee job. Thank you.
Zoe?
So the most important responsibilities of a trustee are to work collaboratively with the other trustees and the library administration to ensure that the district continues to maintain a high level of service for the community. are responsible stewards of the budget and develops or revises policies that ensure that the users have what they need from the library in terms of materials, services, and that the needs of the staff are being met so that they can deliver those services that the community has come to expect from the library.
Okay, well, that concludes the questions. So we're going to have candidates' closing statements, 1 minute each, and we'll go in the reverse order from the opening statements. So Kingston, you're first up.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the sponsors for this program for inviting us all. I also like to thank all of the candidates for their interest and enthusiasm for running for the Board of Trustees. As was mentioned earlier, there are 2 seats available. Hopefully, I am returned to one of those 2 seats. And if that were to happen, I'd be happy to work with any of these other lady or gentlemen.
Zoe.
So I've been a resident of the Peninsula since 2005 and an avid user of the library district in that time. As I mentioned earlier, as a grad student, I was a FIL, and that's from interns to library leader intern within the district, and learned about the collaborative work that contributes to the functioning of the library district. And this experience has stayed with me throughout my career and the libraries that I've worked with, and contributes to the knowledge that I would bring to the board. As I stated in the last question, it's important as a trustee to work collaboratively with the other trustees and the library administration to ensure that the library continues to maintain a high level of service for the community through establishing clear policies that guide the library. My experience and commitment would allow me to accomplish all of these as a trustee, and I would appreciate your support. So those of you who haven't voted already.
Ray.
Thank you. To the audience and everyone in Palos Verdes, I want your vote. I promise to continue my commitment to the library district, which includes Muriel S. Penn Center in our historic Malaga Cove site. I've demonstrated my commitment in past service, and I feel I have an excellent grasp of the challenges we face. Again, they are retaining our high quality staff, keeping a watchful eye over our treasured facilities, to ensure the continued financial stability of our library by tackling the future unfunded pension obligations, and working toward a smooth and safe, very safe reopening of our libraries. I'm willing to go out into the community and advocate for the library. I mobilize volunteers for CASA. I've raised funds for the Teen Annex. My business experience, including audit chair of both CASA and the Friends, will surely benefit the library and the trustee board. Won't you please help me become a trustee? I can do this. Thank you very much.
And Bob.
Of course, we thank our Easy Readers publisher, Kevin Cody, and his staff, Jessica, Russ, and Ashley at Nuvudo for sponsoring, getting this thing going. And of course, we thank Mayor Cruikshank for providing all the tough questions. Thank you for being here. I also thank Zoe, Ray, Kingston, and maybe myself for running. All of us have different skills we bring to this job. I would bring a skill set of roughly 12 years of community service, reviewing, commenting, and approving agendas, projects, and policies. Listing lastly as one of RPV's planning commissioners appointed by our city council. I stand ready to serve, to bring our library into whatever the 21st century requires. I ask for your vote. It's just Bob Nelson for library trustee. But above all, you get out there and you vote. Thank you.
Well, I must say that all 4 of you had excellent answers, and I know that for the voters, they appreciate your time tonight. And I'm looking at the timer and watching you, you all met the timer perfectly, which is not, we can't say that about all the debates we watch. Anyhow, to Dr. Uno, Also Ray Randall, Bob Nelson, Kingston Wong. Thank you all for your participation and all the viewers tonight for joining us. As was mentioned, please make sure you get out and vote. And if you have any particular questions, I recommend you reach out to all 4 of these candidates to ask them any question you want. So with that, everyone have a great night and thank you for participating.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, John.